It wasn't anger. It was your silence that shattered the narcissist to their core. There comes a moment in life when silence becomes louder than rage, more powerful than confrontation, and far more devastating than any argument. And for some people, especially those who once rejected, dismissed, or disrespected you, that silence didn't just feel like distance. It felt like destruction. Because when you stopped responding, when you stopped explaining, defending, or trying, something inside them was forced to look in a mirror they never wanted to face. Psychologists explain that silence, in the context of self-preservation, signals emotional detachment. For many narcissistic or emotionally manipulative individuals, this kind of withdrawal is deeply threatening because their sense of control relies on predictable reactions. They expect the argument. They expect the apology. They expect you to bend. But when you went quiet, when you finally protected your peace instead of their ego, it broke a cycle they thought they owned. And in psychology, when the trauma bond finally snaps, the abuser loses their power. At first, they may have shrugged it off. People like them often assume you'll return because in the past you did. You overlooked disrespect. You continued loving, understanding, and forgiving long after you should have walked away. But as days became weeks, and weeks slowly turned into months, something shifted. Silence became a consequence, not a strategy for revenge, but a necessary boundary for healing. And as experts in trauma recovery often say, the most powerful moment in a survivor's journey is when they no longer chase closure, they become it. See, narcissists use silence to punish. Their silence is a weapon, a calculated refusal to acknowledge your presence, your needs, or your worth. They ghost, ignore calls, leave messages unread, not because they're busy, not because they don't see, but because they want you to feel invisible. Psychologists call this tactic emotional starvation. But when you finally went silent, it wasn't to punish, it was to protect. And that difference is what shook them. Your silence wasn't cruelty, it was recovery. For perhaps the first time, you stopped betraying yourself to keep someone else comfortable. You stopped lowering your standards to preserve a connection that required you to shrink. And that shift, quiet but seismic, forced them to confront a truth narcissists despise. They no longer had access to you. People begin to respect you when you respect yourself. This is a foundational principle in behavioral psychology. Boundaries are not walls. They are standards. And when you finally upheld yours, when your no actually meant no and your enough truly meant enough, something astonishing happened. You rose. You stopped leaking energy where it wasn't valued and started reclaiming your worth. Your silence said everything words never could. It told them you learned the difference between connection and attachment, between love and dependency, between loyalty and self-abandonment. Trauma therapists often remind survivors that detachment isn't coldness, it's clarity. And that clarity is what made them crumble. Not because they loved you, but because they lost the control they once had over you. Silence is not passive. Silence is strength. To look someone in the eye while they belittle, ignore, or diminish you, and not flinch, shows emotional discipline most people never master. Standing in your power without defending your worth is one of the rarest forms of self-confidence. Some people deserved the silence you gave them, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring about yourself. And yes, some will say you changed. You did. Healing changed you. Boundaries changed you. Self-worth changed you. Faith changed you. When people stop speaking to you, speak to God. When they withdraw, draw closer to truth. When they abandon you, understand deeply. You were never meant to stay small just to be accepted. You don't owe explanations. You don't owe responses. You don't have to react just because someone wants to provoke you. That's emotional maturity, and it disrupts the entire pattern of emotional manipulation. There is a profound shift that happens when someone steps out of survival mode and into spiritual and emotional maturity. A person who once reacted loudly, defended fiercely, or matched disrespect with fire eventually learns a quieter, sharper form of strength. In the early stages of healing, especially after rejection or emotional manipulation, silence doesn't feel like power. It feels like loss, confusion, and restraint. But as trauma therapists often say, silence becomes strength the moment it is chosen, not forced. This silence is not weakness, it is self-regulation. It is emotional sobriety. And it is the first sign that the nervous system is no longer controlled by someone else's chaos. When narcissists or manipulative personalities reject someone, their expectation is predictable. They assume you'll chase, plead, explain, or apologize. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement conditioning, a cycle in which one person learns to tolerate disrespect because occasionally they are rewarded with connection. And for a long time, you played that role. You gave grace, understanding, second chances, and emotional access to someone who never earned that privilege. But then something shifted, not overnight, but quietly, slowly, internally. The tears that once came from confusion eventually came from clarity. And the silence that followed was not emotional shutdown, it was emotional awakening. This silence humbled them, not because you intended to hurt them, but because they thought they were irreplaceable. People with narcissistic traits often believe their absence creates fear or longing, but instead, your silence created space. Space to grieve, space to see, space to heal. And during that time, while they assumed you'd return when loneliness hit, something miraculous happened. You didn't. That absence, your absence, became the message they never expected. In psychology, this is called boundary embodiment. When a person doesn't just set limits, they live them. Every night you went to sleep with a heavy heart. Something was happening underneath the sadness. The body was reorganizing itself. The mind was rewiring. The spirit was recovering. Healing isn't loud, it's cellular. It's microscopic. Research shows that emotional wounds repair in stages, much like physical trauma. Inflammation, release, rebuilding, and strengthening. So while they thought nothing was happening, everything was happening. Your heart was being stitched with wisdom instead of longing. Your identity was being rebuilt without their voice defining your worth. And the day came, slowly, subtly, when you woke up and felt different. Lighter, steadier, more whole. What once felt like the end became a beginning. Psychologists call this phase post-traumatic growth, when a person not only survives emotional harm but rises with more clarity, self-respect, and emotional intelligence than before. People underestimate the power of quiet until it confronts them. Your silence forced them to face what they never wanted to admit. They weren't needed, they were tolerated. And what they thought was entitlement was actually access. Now denied, now closed, now permanently out of reach. They will replay memories, analyze moments, and wonder how someone they once controlled emotionally can now walk with such grounded peace. And the painful truth for them is this. Your silence became the mirror that exposed their emptiness. But your journey doesn't end here. Silence isn't the final destination. It is the bridge between suffering and evolution. Now you see life clearly, not through the lens of longing, but through the lens of truth. The version of you they knew could not exist forever, because that version was built from wounds, not wisdom. Now you are preparing for something better, someone better, a future that aligns with your healed self, not your wounded self. So do not return to what broke you. Healing has timing. Closure has timing. Destiny has timing. And right now, the silence you hold isn't empty. It is sacred. It is the sound of self-respect. It is the voice of boundaries. It is the evidence of transformation. And for those who misused your access, mistook your softness for weakness, or believed you would always return, your silence now speaks louder than their ego ever could.